Imagine waking up one day and discovering that everything you thought you knew about your life was a lie. The story of Kamiyah Mobley is one of child abduction, DNA test results, and a bittersweet reunion. July 10, 1998 started much differently than it ended for Kamiyah Mobley. That morning, the 16-year-old gave birth to a healthy 8-pound baby girl, which she decided to name Kamiyah. The road to Kamiyah's birth had been difficult. Kamiyah told the Florida Times-Union in 2018 that she had left home at 13 after having endured sexual abuse 4 years earlier. She bounced around a lot, mostly avoided school, and got into some trouble. At 14, she had a miscarriage. Kamiyah's boyfriend at the time, 22-year-old Craig Aiken, was in jail on drug charges when Kamiyah was born. He'd be arrested a few months later on charges related to his relationship with the then underage Kamiyah. By the time she gave birth, Kamiyah was living with her uncle and focusing on positive changes. She was excited to be a mother, but everything changed that afternoon. Kamiyah Mobley would later tell authorities that the woman who came into her room after she'd given birth was dressed as a nurse and told her she'd been assigned to help her that day. Around 3 p.m., the woman, later identified as Gloria Williams, said she had to take the baby to get checked for a fever and disappeared. While Mobley had believed Williams to be a University Medical Center staff member, employees at the hospital who'd seen her thought she was a member of Mobley's family. The news rocked the Jacksonville, Florida community.
Jacksonville is looking for Kamiyah Mobley.
Everybody in the neighborhood looked for that baby.
But Kamiyah and her abductor had seemingly vanished into thin air. Alan Mizrahi, an assistant Florida state attorney, told A&E True Crime, "This is an unusual case. Most abductions are done by people known to the victim's family. Some kidnappings have been done with strangers or people that are not known, but those are usually very short-term. They're usually caught."
That would be the happiest thing in the world to me right now is to hold my baby.
The kidnapping hit the Jacksonville community hard, and it wasn't long before it became national news. Kamiyah's story was featured in an episode of America's Most Wanted, and investigators for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office spent over 2 years looking into leads. They followed up on more than 2,500 tips across the country. But they were also looking at Mobley and Aiken. Mobley told Florida Times-Union that the people around her suspected her of either giving away or selling her child. And according to Aiken, "I was a scapegoat. They had no answers. They had no leads. The focus was on me." Mobley struggled and her mental health deteriorated. At one point, she tried to take her own life, but eventually there were no new leads in the case and it soon went cold. Mobley and Aiken continued to hope for some resolution. Mobley said that she would buy a birthday cake every year for her daughter and the family would sometimes celebrate with a party. In June 2000, Mobley settled a lawsuit with University Hospital for $1.2 million and included an annuity for $3,000 a month for the rest of her life. 9 years later, Mobley ran into financial difficulty. She sold her rights to the monthly payment in exchange for a lump sum. It's unclear how much of the money she has left. Alexis Manigault was a normal teen living a normal life in Walterboro, South Carolina. She had no idea that she was in fact the missing Kamiyah Mobley, or that Gloria Williams, the loving mother who'd raised her, was a kidnapper. No one in Williams' life had any idea that her daughter wasn't actually hers either, because she'd been pregnant just before the kidnapping. She had suffered a miscarriage and kept it a secret. Williams told her mother that she'd gone into labor while she was at work and delivered the baby at an ER in Charleston, so her family didn't ask any questions when she came home with the little girl. According to Kamiyah, her childhood was filled with love and laughter and trips to the zoo. Her mom took her shopping and she was close with her older brothers, although the family joked that she was clearly the favorite. They were active in their local church. Kamiyah told the New York Times in 2017, "I feel like I was blessed. I never had a reason to question a blessing like that, someone loving you so much."
I feel like I had a regular good childhood. Honestly, I don't have nothing bad to say.
Charles Manigault, the man Kamiyah grew up believing to be her father, told ABC News that after his relationship with Williams ended in 2003, the pair continued to split custody. He called his daughter the love of his life. In 2015, when Kamiyah was 16, she got her first job, but the job required a social security number, which was something she obviously didn't have. That's when Williams broke down. According to Kamiyah, Williams told her the truth about who she really was on their front porch.
She told me about the kidnapping. She had told me what she had done.
Williams said she would turn herself into the police, but Kamiyah wouldn't let her. She was confused, and she was also afraid to lose the only mother she'd ever known, so she helped Williams keep the secret. But that didn't mean Kamiyah wasn't curious about her real identity. In 2023, she told Robin Roberts that after looking up her case online, she tracked down Kamiyah's contact information and called her.
And she asked, she's like, "Who is this?" And I hung up.
According to Kamiyah, Kamiyah seemed to know who she was. She said Kamiyah sent her a happy birthday text on her birthday. Kamiyah, however, told the Florida Times-Union that she didn't even know Kamiyah was alive until nearly 2 years later. In late 2016, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received 2 separate tips related to Kamiyah Mobley's case, and Jacksonville police began looking into Gloria Williams and Alexis Manigault. After discovering Manigault's birth certificate was fake, they paid a visit to Williams' home and asked Kamiyah for a DNA sample, but she refused. Her lawyer, Justin Bamberg, told the New York Times, and of course, like someone who understands their rights, she said, "What is this about? Do you have a warrant?" But police weren't going to let things go. In January 2017, they brought Williams in for questioning, although she refused to speak without an arrest warrant. The encounter spooked her, though. She went to her parents' house and confessed everything. Eventually, the police did get that warrant for DNA, and the test proved what everyone already knew by that point. Williams was arrested and brought back to Florida to face kidnapping charges. For Kamiyah, that meant saying goodbye to her mother and meeting another. The Jacksonville sheriff told CNN at the time, "She's taken it as well as you can imagine. She has a lot to process. She has a lot to think about." Williams faced a sentence of up to life in prison for the kidnapping, so in February 2018, she made the decision to plead guilty to the charges. Not only would she avoid a trial, but she'd receive a shorter sentence, with a maximum of 22 years behind bars. But Williams still had to go through a sentencing hearing in May, which wound up being an emotional experience for both sides, and for Kamiyah Mobley especially.
It's only one sentence, and I don't think she's open up for that. I would say death.
When she was told the death sentence wasn't going to happen, Mobley asked the judge for the maximum sentence possible. She also said she wanted to prevent Williams from ever having contact with Kamiyah in the future.
That is my child. I am your mother, Kamiyah. I am your mother.
When Williams took the stand, she explained that she'd been overwhelmed emotionally at the time she took Kamiyah, but she didn't try to make excuses for the crime. She apologized to both Mobley and Craig Aiken for the pain she'd caused them. Kamiyah didn't take the stand. Prior to the hearing, she told the Post and Courier, "I know what she did was wrong, but I'm just hoping for a single digit, not 2 digits, and credit for time served, of course." In the end, Williams was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Kamiyah Mobley met her biological parents for the first time in January 2017. By that time, both Shannara and Aiken had moved on to other relationships and had other children, and Kamiyah was introduced to her very large other family. She and Aiken hit it off immediately. She told the Post and Courier in late 2017 that they spoke on the phone almost daily, and that she visits him often in Florida. Aiken's mother told the New York Daily News that Kamiyah, quote, "acts like she's been talking to us for a long time." But things didn't come so easily with Shannara, who found it difficult to come to terms with Kamiyah's emotional attachment to Williams. When Shannara spoke with the Florida Times Union in July 2018, she said that she and Kamiyah weren't speaking. A lot of that had to do with Kamiyah's continued contact with Williams. She still called her mommy and spoke with her on the phone. The relationship did eventually improve, but while Kamiyah says she and Shannara have gotten closer, she told Robin Roberts it's a roller coaster.
I feel like she just thinks everything with me has Gloria written over it. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Kamiyah Mobley's case captivated the public, not only because of how rare these types of kidnappings are. Reuters reported in 2019 that fewer than 350 people under 21 are kidnapped by strangers each year in the US, but also because of Kamiyah's relationship with her kidnapper. She's been outspoken in her support of Williams since the initial arrest, and while she understands the severity of the crime, she still views Williams as a mother.
She's still, oh gosh, she's still a mother behind bars. And sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm like, what you doing? Like, she don't sound like she in jail.
In 2020, Lifetime released the movie Stolen by My Mother, the Kamiyah Mobley story, starring Niecy Nash and Raven Simone Farrell and produced by Robin Roberts. That made-for-TV movie brought Kamiyah and her family back into the spotlight, for better or worse. Aiken specifically isn't a fan of the dramatization. He told First Coast News, "Not my story. Not going to teach anybody anything about what happened. Not going to help anybody prevent what happened. Plus, it's not a true story, only for profit." Since Williams pleaded guilty to kidnapping charges in 2018, she has asked for her case to be reconsidered on a couple of occasions. In 2022, she requested a reduced sentence on the basis of being a model prisoner. He'd hoped to cut her time behind bars in half, with the other 9 years spent on probation. At the time, Kamiyah wrote to the court in defense of Williams, saying, quote, "I need my mother home." The request was denied. In December 2023, Williams tried again, this time hoping to have her conviction thrown out altogether. She argued that her counsel had been ineffective and that her mental health had not been evaluated prior to her entering a plea. The courts has reopened her case, but as of mid-2025, there haven't been any updates on its status.
I just think things are going to get better. I always believe that. I just think it's always a rainbow on the other side.
As for Kamiyah, she's doing just fine. As of late 2023, she continues to visit Williams in prison, and she's managed to find balance with both of her families. She's also active on social media, providing glimpses into her everyday and totally normal life.